poor Nanny comforted a terrified little girl at the park, unaware her father was a millionaire CEO. In a quiet park in the heart of the city, a nanny named Olivia was finishing her shift for the day. The air was crisp, the last few leaves of autumn swirling around her, and the distant hum of the city blended with the soft rustling of trees. She adjusted her worn-out shoes and tucked her scarf tighter as she made her way down the path toward the bus stop. But before she could reach it, something caught her attention. A small, terrified cry echoed through the park. Olivia turned around, heart racing. She followed the sound and saw a little girl, no older than 6, sitting on a bench, tears streaming down her face. Her small hands were shaking as she gripped a stuffed bear, looking around as if she had lost something important. Olivia's heart softened. Without thinking, she walked over to the girl, kneeling down to her level. "Hey there, sweetie, are you okay?" Olivia asked, her voice calm and warm. The little girl looked up, her big brown eyes filled with fear. "I can't find my daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling. Olivia smiled reassuringly. "It's okay, I'll help you find him. What's your name?" The girl sniffled, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "Lily." "All right, Lily. Let's take a deep breath and look around together. I'm sure we'll find him." Olivia glanced around the park. There was no sign of a frantic father running towards them. No one seemed to be looking for the little girl. The park was quiet, and the city's noise felt distant. She gently took Lily's hand, her own grip steady, trying to calm the child. They walked together toward the playground, scanning the area, but there was still no sign of the girl's father. "I think we should go to the front of the park," Olivia suggested. "He might be waiting for you there." Lily nodded, her small fingers squeezing Olivia's hand. As they walked, Olivia's mind raced. She had seen so many lost children in the park over the years, but this felt different. The urgency in Lily's eyes, the fear that only a child could express, made Olivia's heart ache. They reached the front of the park, but still, no sign of the father. Olivia started to feel a little uneasy. What if the girl had been abandoned? What if no one was coming for her? Just as that thought crossed her mind, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out. His features were sharp, his suit crisp, and the way he held himself exuded power and confidence. Lily's face immediately lit up as she ran toward him. "Daddy," she cried, her voice filled with relief. Olivia took a step back, watching as the man scooped Lily into his arms, holding her tightly. He looked at Olivia with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you for looking after her," he said, his voice deep and smooth. "I didn't see her wander off." Olivia smiled awkwardly, her heart still racing. "No problem. I'm just glad I could help." But there was something about the man that seemed oddly familiar. As they exchanged a few more words, Olivia noticed the man's gaze flicker with curiosity, almost as if he was appraising her. "I'm Ethan, by the way," he said, extending his hand. Olivia shook it briefly, trying not to show how flustered she felt. "Olivia. It's nice to meet you, Olivia. And thank you again. If there's anything I can do for you, don't hesitate to let me know." Olivia nodded, not expecting anything in return. As Ethan and Lily walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this encounter than met the eye. Little did she know, the man she had just helped was not just any father. He was the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the world. But right now, all Olivia could think about was how she had helped a scared little girl find her way back to safety. The day ended as it usually did for Olivia, quiet, unremarkable, and filled with small acts of kindness. But this time, things were different. The man, Ethan, wouldn't forget her so easily, and neither would she. The next day, Olivia woke up early to get ready for her shift. It was a cold morning, and the sky was overcast, with a light drizzle falling over the city. She quickly made her coffee, her small apartment still feeling too quiet, too empty. She had been working as a nanny for years, taking care of children while barely making enough to get by. But despite everything, she loved her job. The warmth of the kids, their innocent laughter, it made her feel like she was doing something important. Olivia dressed in her usual attire, a simple sweater, faded jeans, and worn-out shoes. She grabbed her purse, checked the clock, and rushed out the door. As she made her way to the bus stop, her thoughts lingered on the previous day. The little girl, Lily, had been so scared, and Olivia couldn't get her face out of her mind. She wondered how she could have wandered off like that, but at least she was safe now, back in her father's arms. She couldn't help but think about Ethan, the man who had come to pick her up. There was something about him, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. His confidence, the way he held himself, the way he seemed to notice everything. It had all been so brief, but it stuck with her. He was different from the men she usually encountered in her life, and yet, there was a familiarity to him. She shook her head, pushing the thoughts aside. She had a job to do. She couldn't afford to get distracted. After a long day of taking care of the children, Olivia boarded the bus home, exhausted but content. As she entered her apartment, she was greeted by the familiar silence. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She picked it up, and a text message from her best friend, Sarah, appeared on the screen. "Hey, Olivia, there's a gala this weekend. You should come with me. It's going to be so much fun." Olivia smiled, but deep down, she knew she couldn't afford to go. The gala was sure to be full of rich people, and she would feel out of place. Besides, she didn't have the money for a ticket, let alone an outfit to wear. She typed back, "Thanks for the invite, Sarah, but I don't think I can swing it this time." She set her phone down and began to prepare dinner, but her mind kept wandering back to Ethan. She couldn't shake the feeling that their encounter wasn't just a coincidence. That night, as she lay in bed, Olivia drifted off to sleep, but the thought of Ethan lingered in her mind. What would it be like to live in a world so different from hers, a world of wealth, power, and opportunity? Little did she know, the next day would change everything. The next afternoon, as Olivia was walking to the park, she spotted a familiar face. It was Ethan, the man from yesterday. He was standing near the entrance, looking around, as if he was waiting for someone. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure why, but seeing him again stirred something inside her. He glanced over and caught her eye, a faint smile crossing his face. "Olivia," he said, walking toward her. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Oh hey," Olivia said, a little surprised. "I didn't know you came to this park." Ethan shrugged, his expression casual, but his eyes were studying her. "I come here often with Lily. She loves the swings." He paused for a moment, then added, "I wanted to thank you again for helping her yesterday. I never got the chance to properly thank you." Olivia waved her hand dismissively. "It was no big deal. I'm just glad I could help." Ethan didn't seem convinced. "Actually, I was thinking, if you're free sometime, I'd like to return the favor. Maybe we could grab a coffee? I know this great cafe around the corner." Olivia hesitated. She wasn't used to men like Ethan offering her anything. She didn't know if she should accept, but there was something about his kindness that made her curious. She found herself nodding. "Sure, that sounds nice." Ethan smiled, and for a moment, Olivia felt a warmth spread through her chest. They walked together to the cafe, the conversation flowing easily. As they sat down with their drinks, Olivia found herself enjoying his company more than she expected. Ethan seemed genuinely interested in what she had to say. He listened intently, asking questions about her life and her dreams, something most people never took the time to do. As they talked, Olivia started to feel a connection with him, a strange sense of ease that she hadn't felt in a long time. But as the conversation continued, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Ethan than he was letting on. He was wealthy, successful, but he didn't act like it. He didn't flaunt his wealth or seem to care about social status. It was almost as if he was hiding something. She pushed the thought aside. It didn't matter. They were just two people having coffee, after all. But deep down, Olivia couldn't help but wonder, what if Ethan wasn't just some wealthy CEO? What if there was something even more surprising about him? The next few days passed by in a blur for Olivia, her thoughts lingering on Ethan and the brief coffee date they had shared. She couldn't deny that there was something different about him, something that piqued her curiosity and made her feel more alive than she had in a long time. He had invited her out again, this time for dinner at a fancy restaurant, and though she hesitated at first, wondering if she truly belonged in such a place, she found herself agreeing. She told herself it was just a dinner between two people, nothing more. When the night arrived, Olivia tried to prepare herself mentally. She wore a simple black dress, one she had bought on sale months ago, but she still felt out of place. The restaurant was the type she had only ever seen in magazines, elegant, dimly lit, with waiters in tuxedos and candles on every table. She felt the weight of her worn shoes as she stepped inside, the smooth marble floors making her feel even more self-conscious. As she waited for Ethan, she couldn't help but glance around, feeling the disconnection between her world and the one she was stepping into. It wasn't long before Ethan arrived, dressed in a sharp suit, his presence commanding the attention of the room. He smiled when he saw her, his eyes lighting up as he approached. "Olivia, you look stunning," he said, his voice warm and genuine. Olivia blushed, unsure of how to respond. She wasn't used to receiving compliments like that, especially from someone who seemed to have it all. They sat down, and the evening began in the same way as their first meeting. Comfortable, easy conversation, laughter that came effortlessly. Ethan asked about her life, her dreams, and the more they spoke, the more Olivia found herself opening up. She told him about her struggles, her hopes for the future, and how she dreamed of one day owning her own art studio. Ethan listened intently, his focus solely on her, as if no one else existed in the world. Olivia couldn't remember the last time she had felt so heard, so understood. As they finished their meals, Ethan leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversations," he said, his voice softer now. "And I want to help you, Olivia. I think you have a lot of potential, and I'd love to see you succeed." Olivia frowned, unsure of where this was going. "Help me?" she asked. "What do you mean?" Ethan smiled, but it wasn't just the smile of a wealthy businessman. It was the smile of someone who genuinely cared. "I can offer you something," he said, "a job at my company. You're talented, Olivia. I believe you could do amazing things if you had the right opportunity." Olivia blinked, taken aback. A job at his company. She had never imagined anything like this for herself. She had always worked jobs that barely paid the bills, nothing more. She didn't even have the qualifications for something so high-end. But the way Ethan looked at her, the sincerity in his eyes, made her wonder if she was selling herself short. "I don't know if I'm the right person for a position like that," she said, hesitating. "I've never done anything like it before." Ethan's smile widened, and he leaned in slightly, his voice steady and reassuring. "Olivia, I see something in you. I wouldn't offer you this if I didn't believe in you. You're more than capable, and I want to help you get where you deserve to be." His words lingered in the air, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt a sense of hope. But with that hope came a sense of doubt. She had never been given an opportunity like this before, and the idea of stepping into a world of wealth, power, and prestige was both thrilling and terrifying. Was she ready for this? Was she truly deserving of such an offer? As she looked into Ethan's eyes, she realized that he wasn't just offering her a job. He was offering her a chance to change her life, to finally break free from the life of struggle she had been living. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, feeling overwhelmed. Ethan reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "You don't have to decide right now," he said. "Think about it. But just know, I'm here for you, no matter what." Olivia's heart fluttered in her chest. She wasn't sure where this path would lead, but one thing was certain. Ethan had opened a door, and now she had to decide whether or not she would walk through it. The evening ended with a quiet goodbye, and as Olivia made her way home, she couldn't stop thinking about what Ethan had said. She wasn't sure if she was ready for everything that was being offered, but she knew that for the first time in a long while, she had a choice. A real choice, one that could change everything. The following week, Olivia found herself walking through the busy streets of the city, her mind racing. The dinner with Ethan had left a lasting impression on her. His words echoed in her mind, urging her to step out of her comfort zone, to take a chance on something bigger. But as much as she wanted to believe in herself, a part of her hesitated. She had always lived in the shadows of others, never daring to reach for anything beyond what was immediately within her grasp. Now, Ethan had offered her a glimpse of a different life, a life where she could be more than just a nanny struggling to make ends meet. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. She had spent the past few days trying to decide whether or not to accept Ethan's offer. She knew it was an opportunity of a lifetime, but the fear of failure lingered in her mind. Could she really succeed in a world that was so far removed from her own? Could she prove to Ethan and to herself that she was capable of more? As she entered her small apartment later that evening, Olivia sat down on her couch, her thoughts swirling. She couldn't shake the feeling that this decision would change everything. She glanced at her phone and saw a message from Ethan. It simply read, "I'm thinking of you. Take your time. I'll be here when you're ready." A warmth spread through her chest as she read the words. Ethan wasn't pressuring her. He was giving her space to decide on her own terms. She felt a sense of relief, knowing that whatever decision she made, Ethan would be supportive. That night, as she lay in bed, Olivia realized that she was no longer the person she had been just a few weeks ago. The encounter with Ethan had opened her eyes to possibilities she had never considered before. She had spent so much of her life telling herself that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't deserve anything more than what she had. But now, she wondered, what if she was wrong? What if she could have it all? A career, a future, a life beyond the struggles of everyday survival. The next day, as Olivia walked to work, she passed the park where she had met Lily and Ethan. She stood there for a moment, taking in the familiar sights and sounds of the place. But today, it felt different. It felt like a turning point, like the beginning of something new. She smiled to herself, a quiet sense of resolve settling over her. Olivia knew what she had to do. She walked to the nearest coffee shop and sat down with her phone in front of her. Her fingers hovered over the screen as she drafted her response to Ethan. "I've thought about it a lot," she typed, "and I'm ready to take that step. I want to join your team." She pressed send, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness flood over her. Almost immediately, her phone buzzed with a reply from Ethan. "I'm so glad to hear that, Olivia. You won't regret this. Let's talk soon." As she read the message, Olivia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had made her decision. There was no turning back now, but she wasn't scared anymore. She was ready. The next few days flew by as Olivia prepared for her new role. She shopped for professional clothes, attended interviews with Ethan's company, and started to get a sense of the new world she was about to enter. She couldn't believe how quickly everything was falling into place. She was no longer just a nanny. She was becoming someone more. On the day she started her new job, Olivia walked into the sleek office building, her nerves tingling with anticipation. The building was modern, with glass walls and polished floors that reflected the bright lights of the city outside. She couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as she entered the lobby. This was a world she had never imagined she could be a part of. Ethan was there to greet her, his smile warm and reassuring. "Welcome to the team, Olivia," he said, shaking her hand. "I'm really proud of you for taking this step." Olivia smiled back, feeling a rush of gratitude and excitement. She was finally here. She had taken the leap, and now, there was no turning back. She was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did she know, this decision would set off a chain of events that would change her life in ways she could never have imagined. Ethan had given her more than just a job. He had given her the opportunity to discover who she truly was, to find the courage to reach for something greater than she had ever thought possible. Days turned into weeks, and Olivia settled into her new life at Ethan's company. The transition was both exciting and overwhelming. At first, she felt out of place in the corporate world. The office was sleek, modern, and full of people who seemed to have it all together. Olivia often found herself comparing her humble background to the polished executives around her. But with Ethan's encouragement, she slowly began to find her footing. He made sure she felt welcomed, taking the time to explain things, answer her questions, and introduce her to the company culture. His kindness was something she hadn't expected, and it made her feel like she truly belonged, even though it had only been a short time since she started. Olivia found herself waking up every morning excited about the day ahead. She had always been someone who lived day to day, getting by, but now, she had a sense of purpose. She was no longer just getting by, she was building something. She felt the confidence growing inside her, bit by bit. One afternoon, after a particularly productive meeting, Ethan asked if she wanted to grab a coffee. "Sure," Olivia said, feeling a flutter in her chest. She had come to look forward to these small moments with him, moments where they could talk about more than just work. They sat down at their usual spot in the cafe, and as they sipped their coffee, Ethan turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You've been doing amazing, Olivia," he said. "I knew you had potential from the beginning, but you've really impressed me. You fit in here better than I could have imagined." Olivia smiled, feeling a wave of pride wash over her. She had worked so hard to prove herself, and hearing Ethan's words made it all worth it. "Thanks," she said softly. "It's been challenging, but I'm grateful for the chance." Ethan's eyes softened as he looked at her. "You're not just doing this for me, you know. You're doing it for yourself." Olivia wasn't sure what to say. The truth was, she had never believed she was capable of achieving much. Growing up, she had been taught to simply survive, not to dream big. But now, with Ethan's support, she was starting to believe in herself more. Over the next few weeks, Olivia continued to excel at her job. Her confidence grew with each new challenge she tackled, each new project she managed to complete. She was starting to carve out a space for herself in the world she had once thought was beyond her reach. One evening, as Olivia was leaving the office, Ethan caught up with her in the hallway. "I've been thinking," he said. "You've been working so hard. I think you deserve a break." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "A break? What do you mean?" Ethan smiled, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "I'm taking you away for the weekend. Somewhere relaxing. It's time you did something for yourself." Olivia felt a surge of excitement, but also hesitation. She had never been the type to take time for herself, always putting others first. "I don't know," she said, looking down. "I don't want to take up your time." Ethan's expression softened. "Olivia, you've earned this. Don't worry about anything. I want you to come." His words were so sincere that she found herself agreeing. "Okay, I'll come." The next weekend, Ethan and Olivia drove to a beautiful lakeside cabin, far away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The moment Olivia stepped out of the car and saw the tranquil water, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't realized she was missing. They spent the weekend hiking, talking, and simply enjoying each other's company. For the first time in a long time, Olivia felt completely at ease. There were no expectations, no pressure, just two people connecting in the calm of nature. As they sat by the lake one evening, watching the sunset, Ethan turned to Olivia. "I'm glad you came," he said softly. "You deserve this." Olivia smiled, feeling the weight of the past few weeks lift from her shoulders. She had spent so much time doubting herself, so much time wondering if she belonged. But now, sitting here with Ethan, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan reached out and took her hand. The connection between them had grown stronger over the weeks. And in this peaceful moment, Olivia realized something. She had come a long way, not just in her career, but in her heart. She was no longer the same woman who had first met Ethan. She had grown, learned, and opened herself to a new life, and it felt like the beginning of something even greater. Ethan squeezed her hand gently, a quiet promise in his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, Olivia allowed herself to believe in the future, in love, and in the possibility of happiness. Weeks passed by, and Olivia felt more and more at home in the new world she had entered. She was no longer the nervous woman who had once doubted her worth, unsure if she belonged in a place like Ethan's company. Now, she was thriving. Her confidence had soared, and she had built strong relationships with her colleagues. They respected her not only for her work ethic, but for the passion she brought to every project. Ethan had been a constant source of support, always there to offer guidance and encouragement. They had spent more time together, both at work and outside of it. Their connection had deepened, and Olivia found herself growing more comfortable in his presence. There was something about him, the way he made her feel safe, valued, and understood. But even as their bond strengthened, Olivia couldn't shake a lingering feeling deep inside her. She had never been one to rush into relationships. Her past had taught her to be cautious, to protect her heart. She had learned to guard herself, afraid of being hurt or disappointed. And though Ethan had shown her nothing but kindness, there was still a part of her that hesitated to let go fully. One evening, after a long day at the office, Ethan invited Olivia to dinner at one of their favorite spots, a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a quiet street. As they sat down, the soft glow of the candles on their table created a cozy, intimate atmosphere. They ordered their meals and began talking about their day, but there was a tension in the air that Olivia couldn't ignore. Ethan looked at her with a gentle smile, but his eyes seemed to hold a question, as if he was waiting for something. "You've been a little quiet tonight," he said, his voice soft. "Is everything okay?" Olivia paused for a moment, her fork hovering over her plate. She knew Ethan cared about her, but she didn't want to burden him with her doubts. "I'm fine," she replied, forcing a smile. "Just a little tired." Ethan studied her for a moment before reaching across the table and taking her hand in his. "You know, Olivia," he said gently, "I don't want you to feel like you have to hide anything from me. You can always be honest with me." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She had always been honest with him, but this was different. She had never allowed herself to be completely vulnerable, to let someone see her fears and insecurities. I've just been thinking a lot lately, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I'm ready for all of this. She gestured between them, unsure how to explain what she meant. Everything that's changing in my life. Ethan's expression softened, and he gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. I understand, he said quietly. It's a lot to take in, I know. But I'm not asking you to be ready. I'm asking you to take it one step at a time, to trust me and trust yourself. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Olivia looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she allowed herself to truly see the depth of his feelings for her. He wasn't just offering her a career or a lifestyle. He was offering her a future, a life they could build together. But it was still so new, so unfamiliar to her. She had spent years living in survival mode, focusing only on getting through each day. The idea of allowing someone else in, of fully trusting another person with her heart, was terrifying. I don't know if I can do that, Olivia said, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know if I can trust that it's real, that it will last. Ethan smiled softly, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. I don't expect you to have all the answers. But I'm here, Olivia. I'm not going anywhere. I'm willing to wait, for as long as it takes. Olivia felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. She had been so afraid of what could go wrong, of losing herself in a relationship, but in that moment, she realized that she didn't have to be afraid. She didn't have to have all the answers. She only had to take the next step. I want to try, she said finally, her voice steady. I want to see where this goes, with you. Ethan's smile widened, and he reached for her other hand, pulling her closer. That's all I'm asking, he said softly. We'll take it one day at a time, together. And for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt the heavy weight of uncertainty begin to lift. She wasn't sure where this journey would lead, but for the first time, she was ready to trust that it was worth taking. As they finished their dinner, Olivia couldn't help but smile, knowing that whatever the future held, she wasn't facing it alone. The days following their dinner were filled with a sense of anticipation for Olivia. She and Ethan had taken that first step together, and though there were still moments of doubt and fear, she felt a growing sense of peace within her. She wasn't just navigating a new job or a new life anymore. She was embracing the possibility of a future, one she had never dared to imagine before. Olivia's work life continued to flourish. She was given more responsibilities and started taking the lead on several important projects. Her colleagues began to look to her for guidance, and she realized that she had found a new sense of purpose. She was no longer the uncertain woman she had been months ago. She had evolved into someone confident, capable, and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Ethan continued to be her anchor. They spent more time together outside of work, going to art galleries, walking through the park, and just enjoying each other's company. The bond between them was undeniable, and Olivia found herself looking forward to their time together, not only for the connection they shared but for the way Ethan made her feel. He believed in her, and that belief fueled her own growing confidence. But despite everything going well, Olivia still struggled with one thing: the fear of losing herself. She had always been independent, relying on herself to get by, and the thought of letting someone else in completely, of letting Ethan become such an important part of her life, was terrifying. One evening, after a particularly busy week at work, Olivia sat alone in her apartment, reflecting on how far she had come. The quiet of the space seemed to amplify her thoughts, and she felt the familiar weight of uncertainty settle in. What if she wasn't truly ready for this life? What if everything fell apart? She reached for her phone, hesitating for a moment before sending Ethan a message. Can we talk? I think there's something I need to figure out. A few moments later, his reply came. Of course, Olivia. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When Ethan arrived, he immediately noticed the concern on Olivia's face. Hey, he said softly, sitting next to her on the couch. What's on your mind? Olivia took a deep breath. She had always been the type to keep her worries to herself, but this time, she knew she needed to be open with him. I've been thinking a lot about us, she began, her voice trembling slightly. About everything. About the job, this relationship, the changes in my life. Ethan listened intently, his expression soft and patient. Olivia continued. I'm scared, Ethan. I'm scared that I'll lose myself in all of this. That I'll become someone I'm not. I've spent so long taking care of myself, being independent, and I don't know how to balance that with all the things that are happening now. Ethan's gaze never left her, and when she finished speaking, he took her hand in his. Olivia, he said quietly, I understand. And I respect that. You're allowed to be scared. You've had to fight for everything you've had. You've always had to rely on yourself, and that's not easy to change. He paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. But I want you to know this. You don't have to lose yourself. I'm not asking you to give up who you are. I'm just asking you to let me be a part of your life. To be there for you as you've been there for me. You're still you, Olivia, and you will always be you. Olivia felt her heart begin to race, the weight of her fear slowly lifting. Ethan's words were simple, but they were everything she needed to hear. She had been so focused on the possibility of losing herself that she hadn't stopped to realize that she didn't have to. She could still be the woman she had always been, strong, independent, and capable, while letting someone else into her life. With Ethan by her side, she didn't have to choose between love and independence. She could have both. I'm ready, Olivia whispered, her voice full of determination. I'm ready to let you in, to let this be real. Ethan's smile was gentle, but it carried a sense of relief and happiness that filled Olivia's chest with warmth. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead softly, his touch reassuring. I'm so proud of you, Olivia, and I'll be here every step of the way. In that moment, Olivia realized that love didn't have to be a threat to her independence. She could still be the person she had always been, but now, she was learning to share that strength, to trust someone else with her heart. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had found the perfect balance. As the days went on, Olivia continued to thrive, both in her career and in her relationship with Ethan. She learned to embrace the changes in her life without losing the essence of who she was. And with Ethan by her side, she knew that whatever challenges the future brought, they would face them together. Weeks passed, and Olivia's life continued to transform in ways she had never expected. With Ethan by her side, she began to feel more secure, not only in her career, but also in her ability to navigate the complexities of her emotions and relationships. She had found a balance between being true to herself and embracing the love and support Ethan offered. But despite everything going so well, there was still one thing Olivia couldn't shake, the looming fear of judgment. She had come from humble beginnings, and at times, she still felt like an outsider in this new world she was becoming a part of. The wealth, the status, the people, it was all so different from the life she had known. Every time they attended a social event, whether a work gala or a dinner with Ethan's friends, she couldn't help but feel like all eyes were on her, judging her every move. It was a subtle feeling, one that she often kept to herself, but it was there, lurking in the background. One evening, after a particularly lavish party thrown by one of Ethan's colleagues, Olivia found herself sitting in the car, her hands gripping the seat as they drove home. The event had been beautiful, but she had felt out of place the entire night. The guests, dressed in expensive gowns and tuxedos, talked about things she didn't understand, using words and references that felt foreign to her. Ethan had noticed her discomfort and had tried to reassure her throughout the evening, but the feeling of being an outsider was hard to ignore. When they finally arrived home, Ethan turned to her as they got out of the car. Hey, are you okay? He asked, his voice gentle. Olivia hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I'm fine, she said, though she didn't feel fine. It's just, sometimes I feel like I don't belong in this world. Like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Ethan stepped closer to her, taking her hand in his. Olivia, you belong here just as much as anyone else. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You are exactly who you are, and that's more than enough. Olivia felt a lump form in her throat as she looked up at him. She wanted to believe him, wanted to accept that she had a place in this world, but her insecurities were still so deeply ingrained. She had spent her whole life feeling like she wasn't enough, and even with all the changes and success, that feeling still lingered. Ethan seemed to sense her doubt and gently cupped her face in his hands. I know it's hard, but I need you to trust me, Olivia, he said, his voice filled with conviction. You're not just here because you're with me. You're here because you've worked hard to get to this point. You've earned every bit of success you have. Don't let anyone, including yourself, make you feel less than what you are. His words struck a chord deep within her, and for the first time, she felt her doubts begin to fade. She had worked so hard to get here, to build a life for herself, and she deserved every bit of the success and happiness she had found. She didn't need to compare herself to others, nor did she need to fit into a mold that wasn't hers. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. "I needed to hear that." Ethan wiped the tear away gently and smiled. "You'll get there, Olivia. I'm with you every step of the way." The next few days were filled with a renewed sense of confidence for Olivia. She had faced one of her deepest fears, the fear of not fitting in, and had come out stronger on the other side. She no longer felt the need to prove herself to anyone but herself. She had already proven enough. Ethan's support had made all the difference, and with his belief in her, she started to believe in herself more. That weekend, as they took a quiet walk through the city, hand in hand, Olivia felt a peace she hadn't known in a long time. The world around her was still full of challenges, but for the first time, she wasn't afraid to face them. She had Ethan by her side, and more importantly, she had found the strength within herself to take on whatever came her way. As they reached the park, Ethan stopped and turned to her, his eyes filled with warmth and affection. "You know," he said softly, "I'm proud of you." Olivia smiled, feeling her heart swell with love. "Thank you," she replied, "for believing in me." Ethan leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "I'll always believe in you, Olivia. Always." In that moment, Olivia realized something profound. She didn't need to fit into anyone's expectations or measure up to some ideal. She was enough, just as she was. With Ethan's unwavering support and her newfound confidence, Olivia knew that whatever the future held, she was ready to face it head-on, knowing she had everything she needed within herself. As the months went by, Olivia found herself living a life she had once only dreamed of. Her confidence continued to grow, not just at work, but in her personal life as well. With Ethan by her side, she had learned to embrace the changes that had come with their relationship, and she was no longer afraid of losing herself in it. She had discovered that love didn't mean giving up who she was. It meant growing together, supporting each other, and building a future side by side. Her career was thriving, and Ethan was proud of the woman she had become. They spent their weekends exploring new places, enjoying each other's company, and learning more about one another. Their bond had only deepened, and with every passing day, Olivia felt more and more secure in the love they shared. One afternoon, as they walked through the city hand in hand, Ethan turned to her with a smile that made Olivia's heart skip a beat. "Olivia," he said softly, "there's something I want to ask you." Olivia's heart raced with excitement, wondering what was coming next. They had talked about their future together, but she had no idea what Ethan was about to say. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. He took both of her hands in his gaze intense and filled with love. "I know we've been through a lot together, and I know we've built something real," he began. "But I want to ask you, from the bottom of my heart, will you marry me?" Olivia's breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, she couldn't speak. The words he had just spoken had completely stunned her. She had never imagined this moment, and yet, standing there with Ethan, she knew that this was exactly where she was meant to be. She had spent so many years doubting herself, feeling like she wasn't worthy of love, but here she was, with the man who loved her for exactly who she was. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she looked at Ethan, her heart overflowing with emotion. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yes, I will marry you." Ethan's face lit up with a smile that could have lit up the entire city. He pulled her into a warm embrace, his arms wrapping around her as they stood there, in the middle of the bustling city, lost in their own world. Olivia felt like everything in her life had led her to this moment. The struggles, the doubts, the fear, and now, she was ready to step into a future full of love and endless possibilities. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and Ethan began planning their wedding. They decided to keep it simple, a small ceremony with close friends and family, a celebration of the love they had found and the life they had built together. As the big day approached, Olivia couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. She had started as a woman filled with uncertainty, unsure of her place in the world, but now, she was walking toward a future filled with promise, surrounded by people who loved and supported her. The day of their wedding arrived, and the sun shone brightly in the sky as Olivia walked down the aisle, her heart pounding with excitement. Ethan stood at the altar, His eyes filled with tears as he watched her approach. When she reached him, he took her hands in his voice barely a whisper. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life," he said, his words filled with emotion. "You are my everything, Olivia." Olivia smiled through her tears, her heart full. "And you are mine," she replied softly. As they exchanged vows and rings, Olivia felt a sense of peace settle over her. She had found her place in the world, not through wealth or status, but through love, trust, and the courage to be herself. The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and joy, as family and friends celebrated the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Ethan and Olivia shared their first dance as husband and wife, holding each other close as the music played. Olivia felt a sense of contentment that she had never known before, knowing that the man she loved was by her side, ready to face whatever came next. As the night drew to a close, Ethan took her hand and led her outside, where the city lights twinkled in the distance. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice full of promise. "We have the rest of our lives ahead of us." Olivia smiled, her heart full of hope. "I know," she said, "and I can't wait to spend it with you." As they stood there, hand in hand, looking out at the future, Olivia knew that she had finally found the life she had always dreamed of, a life full of love, laughter, and endless possibilities.